Hello and welcome to another Date Your Wife podcast. We're really, really excited. Garrett and I have actually been bringing on powerful couples this whole year, and it's been really fun and really exciting. And about a month ago, you guys may have seen, I did a podcast on my other show with Lori Harder, and I was like, hey, do you think your husband, Chris, would want to come back and be on Date Your Wife? So I talked him into it. We're here in our home here in Orange County, California, and we're so excited to hear more about their story. But honestly, you guys, being married is tough. You guys have been married as long as we have. So we are not going to waste any time. We're just going to dive right in, the good, bad, the ugly, all the things. So.
All right, so we're going to jump in first. So what, who saw who first?
Oh, I got this. Okay. So Green Bay, Wisconsin, smaller town. How do I say this politely? Let's just say there's not a ton of people that like stand out and turn heads, right?
Yeah.
And there was this new girl first day at the gym that walked in that turned everybody's head. And of course it was Lori. And so, being a young single guy, I'm like, I have to have that woman right there.
Gym crush.
So, did I go up right away? No, I wasn't that confident. I kind of watched her from across the gym. And what I didn't realize was there was a series of people hitting on her that I can let her share from her perspective that kind of put her on the defense during her workout. So at the end of her workout, we're both walking out to the parking lot at the same time.
How long into seeing her is this? How many months?
Oh, this is first day.
This is first day.
Oh, yeah. No,
He's
he aggressively goes after what he wants. Yes.
Okay.
So we're walking out to the cars and I look over at her. We're walking the same direction. And I say, hey, you new here? And she looks at me and she goes, yep. And gets in the car and closes the door. And yes, you did. And I thought to myself in that moment, I'm like, oh, this chick sucks. And I thought that was going to kind of be the end of it.
Right.
But then I kept seeing her around the gym. And here's how I know that you did do it that way. Because about a month later of seeing each other at the gym, I was at the water fountain and you came up to me and you're like, hey, I didn't get your name that day. And you had started the correspondence.
I just knew I was short. I knew I was short with him, but I didn't think I was bitchy. But
I didn't use that word. I didn't use that word.
No, here's what. So I'm already like in a bad situation because I'm coming out of a relationship. I just moved back home with my parents. And that meant like I was in a, had moved out when I was 18 because I was, leaving my family home and my religion growing up. And that was like a really big deal, leaving that religion.
What religion were you raised in?
I was Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, wow. And as intense as the Mormonism we came from.
It was intense. So when I left, it was a big deal in my family. So when I was like 20 years old, when I was 18, I moved in with a bunch of friends. It didn't go well. Like they were doing drugs and doing all the things. Like we had that crazy couple years. And I was kind of coming to at that point at about 20. I was like, I don't want to live this way anymore. Like I just want to get back to working out and saving money. And it was just a really bad situation. And so I had called my dad and said, can I move home? He was like, yes, but knew I was going to have to like kind of abide by those rules for a little bit again while I dug myself out of this hole. And so I had just gotten to this small town, which I didn't want to be at because my parents had moved from my childhood home to Green Bay. So it was like everything was new.
Everything brand new.
So I moved back in. I'm in my 4-year-old brother's bedroom with like glow in the dark stars and dinosaurs on the headboard. And I'm like, I'll just, the one thing that makes me feel normal is joining the gym. So this was my first day at the gym. I got hit on by the front desk guy who proceeded to grab the Shopco flyer, which is like a Walmart or Kmart. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you have cop eyes. This was the first thing he says to me when I joined. I go, what are cop eyes? He goes, you can see everything bad I've been doing. I go, okay. And so he grabs the Shopco flyer and he tells me he's a model. He's like, I'm an underwear model, and proceeds to show me he certainly is a Shopco underwear model.
Like the 6-pack of tidy whities.
Then I start working out and this guy comes up and he goes, hey, my name's Jake, and shows me his arm tattoo that says Jake very large on it in case he forgets, I'm guessing. I don't know. And so Jake proceeds to ask me while I'm in the middle of curls, like I'm literally curling weights. And the old school headphones, like I had to like take them off, put the weights down.
Stop the disc.
And he was like, do you smoke? I go, no. He goes, no. Do you smoke weed? I go, no. He goes, well, do you want to go smoke weed with me and my girlfriend after this? I go, no. So insert poor Chris.
Yeah, see, I didn't know this stuff went down.
So you came as triple threat after now.
Yeah,
the fences are
I was
completely
just shooting my
up.
shot thinking maybe I was the first one. And
I literally was like, close my car door, and I was like, I am in the like Twilight Zone right now. So yes, I knew afterward, I was like, oh, because I'm not that like I'm usually very friendly, but by number 3, I was like, this was going to be my saving grace away from my family home. And now it doesn't feel safe. So I literally, the poor guy got the brunt of it. So
did Jake ever come back and ask to smoke weed again?
No, he didn't, but he's like very well known for, Chris knew who Jake was. And he's like, that's right on par.
You know everybody.
Yeah.
Jake's hitting on everybody. We got front desk underwear model trying to find a second
always
career.
hits on everyone, by the way.
Yes.
In fact, my sister worked across town at a US Cellular and he used the same lines on her, not knowing we were sisters. I was like, this is so great. Small town stuff.
Chris, were you from that small town?
Yeah, so I was born and raised mostly in that town, kind of up and down the eastern part of Wisconsin, but mostly there.
Okay. How far apart in age are you guys?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Who's older? Okay.
Come on now.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I didn't say who's.
You just always default. Yeah.
That's what Danielle tells me. Okay, so you guys meet, and then you come up to the water fountain, and now you're feeling like you're back in the game. Yep. She asks for the name, and then what happens?
All right, so this is pretty good. I wanted to.
I can't stop thinking about Jake hitting you up.
Make sure I stay in front of her, but not crowd her, right? So if she's on cardio, maybe I'd go do a little bit of cardio, which I was not a cardio person at the time.
The guy never did cardio before this ever.
If she was over here, maybe I'd be over here just like kind of in proximity. And that's just kind of hung around enough to be nice, but didn't take any shots after that. And when I could finally tell that we had great chemistry and had chatted up, over maybe 4 weeks worth of seeing each other or something.
He did the stepper for me, you guys. Like he would stand and do the stepper just to talk to me. And I kind of knew it.
And actually, I think it was on the stepper where this happened. So I said to her, hey, I've got tickets for the Packer game coming up this Sunday if you want to go. Now, I got to give you guys some context. Now you could go on StubHub. Back then, there was no StubHub, no Ticketmaster. None of that existed. And Green Bay had a 66-year waiting list for tickets. And so
it's a big deal.
You had to know someone to get tickets. And I did not have tickets. I just needed an excuse to ask her out.
That's funny.
So I said to her, I go, hey, I've got tickets to the game this Sunday. If you're not doing anything, if you'd want to go, it might be fun. And she said yes. And I don't know if I didn't expect her to say yes or what, but she said yes. And so then it was like bittersweet because I was panicking inside saying, how am I going to get tickets? And outside I was ecstatic.
Did you not think she was going to say yes?
I don't know. I don't know what my plan was. So I scramble, ask all my friends that would have tickets and luckily found a pair. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The day of the game, she texts me and says, hey, really sorry, I might not make it for the game because somebody broke into my car in Milwaukee, 2 hours away where she was staying over, and broke her window.
I still had my apartment, even though I moved back in with my parents because my roommates were still there. I was just getting out. So I would go back there on the weekends just to get away from my family. Yes.
Yep. So I thought, I knew it. She's standing me up. I should have known this was going to happen and just kind of stayed home and flipped on the game, pissed off. Sure enough, right before halftime, this silver Ford Taurus with a broken ass driver's window and
a black garbage bag
over it because it's a 2-hour drive down the highway, pulls up in front of the house. And she's like, do we have time to make it to the game?
Oh.
And so we went to the second half of the game and hit it off, and it's been awesome ever since.
So did you guys make out the first night?
No, we were friends for like 6 months, 4 months.
So I tried everything. I would try foot rubs. We would work out.
You didn't get to make out after a foot rub?
No. Listen.
Lori was shutting it down.
So you went on a first date where you just like as friends?
He said it was friends.
Oh, okay.
I was like, great, let's hang out.
There was this very fine line between being able to hang out with somebody and not being friend zoned, right?
Yeah.
And she at the time, she just wanted friendship, and I wanted the polar opposite of friendship.
I told him, I was clear. I was like, I'm coming out of a broken heart. Like I'm still in love with this other person. I was super clear.
She was very clear on it.
Yeah.
There's no straight guy on the planet that wants to be any girl's friend.
Right. And I knew that, but I was like,
you wanted to feel safe.
Yeah, we're just friends for now. Yeah. Like I didn't have any friends there. So I was like, great, this guy's great. Yeah. He rubs my feet. We drink wine. So fun.
Okay, hold on.
It's interesting because
bro, you were committed. That's what
I was committed.
We got foot rubs happening. We got wine being drunk, and you're still playing hard to get. But you still think this is a friend zone.
I was very open. I kept saying we're friends.
She was very upfront about where she thought it was, and I was very upfront that I'm persistent as hell, and I always end up getting my way.
Were you telling her that you wanted her at this time?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why are you rubbing her feet and she's sipping on wine and she's like, we're just friends. And you're like,
I'd make little advances and she would kind of...
I can't remember when we started making out, but like maybe month 4. I don't know.
We were like friends that made out. It was the first step probably.
Yeah, I think so.
So then we were just friends that make out. And that's it. We're just make out.
She's going to kill me that I bring this up. It's so good.
It's good.
Until I finally get her to come home the first time. And even that's a story. So back then...
Come home to your house?
Yeah.
So you took her back to your mom's house?
No. My
Your house. Okay. You're not living with your mom.
No. Okay. God, no.
I was like, oh no. Is this failure lunch? What's happening?
No. Let's be very clear. Did not live with my parents.
Was Jake there?
His mom put flowers
Jake
on
was there. Al was there.
Jake was there and Al was there. Al was modeling in his underwear and Jake was high as balls on the front yard.
Whatever it takes to get
happy for you guys. Yes. Okay. All right. So you get her back to the house.
I finally get her back. It's bar time. And, Wisconsin, we're known for drinking. And we would go, and now I'm not proud to say this, but we would go out in any given night and have 10 to 15 shots plus drinks.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a night, which is insane.
It's a lot of drinks.
And it's a ton. And so I loaded her up with shots. And finally she's like, yeah, I'll come back with you. I know, it sounds so predatory.
It's fantastic. Well played.
There was not a plan behind this, I promise.
Fuck the wine. It's not working. Yes. You're getting no foot rubs, 12 shots. We're going to the bar.
So she's full of shots. I'm full of shots. We come home and I'm like, yes, it's finally going to happen. And we crawl into bed and she passes out and pisses the bed right away. Now, here's what's cool. I liked this chick so much that I was afraid she'd wake up, be embarrassed, never come back again. So I went and
cleaned it all up.
Remember, no, I didn't clean it up. Shows you how drunk I was. I went and I got a glass of water, and why I filled it up, I don't know, but I filled up the glass of water, and then I came and I poured it over the same area where the piss was in bed.
It was already wet.
Right? Like, I don't know what my thinking was. And I put the glass there and I rolled over, like trying not to lay in it, and fell asleep. So that in the morning, when she woke up, I could be like, oh, don't you remember? You want some water and you must have spilled it. And I thought that's the only way that I could get her to save face and come
listen,
back.
There's nothing.
So when did you come clean with this story?
Oh, I had a track record for bedwetting if I
know
was
she
super
was
drunk.
the
so
bedwetter.
I woke up. So I knew it was so sweet. I was like, oh.
She let me believe. Yeah.
Lori has game. She is game in you.
We went to a buffet.
An Indian casino buffet.
An Indian casino buffet. And I'm not even kidding. This is literally the moment for me. I think it was just like that on top of, what he had done on top of just like it's like a Sunday when you were hung over and you're like, man, on Sundays, you really just want to be with that person that you like love. And we had spent so much time together that literally sitting across at an Indian casino buffet, I fell in love with him. Like it was a moment of just like, I don't ever want to live without this person.
This was 7 months though, from the first time you met him.
Probably 6-7 months of hanging in the game.
Good.
Yeah.
Well done. Endurance, Iron Man.
So how long did you date before you guys got married?
So this was interesting. We dated for almost 2 years. I guess if you include that time, almost 2 years. And we always said, oh, we don't need to get married. Why put a label on it? And I'm sure there's something for us to unpack if we went back and took a deep look at that. But we were aligned that we didn't want to get married. And then one random day running errands on a Saturday together, I looked at her and I'm like, why aren't we getting married? Like, why not? And she's like, I don't know. Why not? And so it was the most informal, like, okay, cool. How about we start looking at rings and I'll get an idea of what you like. Yeah. And it was like we made a decision in a very non-decision making kind of way.
Mm-hmm. I remember it as like we had said those things, but also we had said, if this is what it takes for the world to know how we feel about each other, like this external symbol, then let's do it. Because I think that we had just at that point known that we were like the ultimate best friends and partners. Like it was just,
So would you go to a courthouse or something?
Oh no!
No,
I mean,
we had a real wedding.
Oh, you had a full on.
Yeah, I tried to surprise her with an engagement, even though we knew that we were getting engaged now. This is funny. I'm not handy. And when I say not handy, it's an understatement. And so instead of flipping the fuse,
can't fix shit.
So when she came home from work, instead of flipping the fuse so there'd be no lights, I went and I took all the light bulbs out of the kitchen, like one by one by one. Like that's that level of not handy. Because
he had lit candles and wanted just the candlelight.
Sure
so I'm like, I walk in and I look to the left and there's like 12 light bulbs sitting in a pile. And I'm like, babe, why don't the lights work?
You're like, damn, I should have thought
and
that
I'm the handy one. I was like, you could have just... Okay, never mind.
It's okay.
So did you course correct him that night and say you could have done that with the fuse box? Okay, good.
No.
So then you asked her to marry you. This is it. And then you do have a big wedding.
Full-blown wedding.
Yep.
I always tell, we had a big wedding and I'm grateful for it, but I always tell like young people now, don't have the great big expensive wedding because you get pulled apart to try and see everybody and please everybody and you're in entertainment mode. Just take your closest people or go elope with them. Just go on a little island somewhere and hang out together.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been married? Because it's about
19 years.
19
This
years
August.
together.
This
August, so 21 years
we've
together.
been together
Yeah, I saw
21,
you're 21.
but-
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I
21.
feel like once you get past like 10, you're like, whoo. And then once you get close to 20, you're like, it's me and you. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is it.
We're
I'm like,
doing it,
we're
so-
in way too
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
at this point. Like I'm too tired, and this is like we're too deep. So
Literally,
There's a
I'm like,
lot. There's a lot of people starting over, and they're like mid 40s.
It's-
late
we see
40s.
that. We have a
all over the
lot of
place
friends
right
right
now.
now.
Yeah.
We're watching all kinds of couples fall apart right in front of
Us
us.
too, right now.
That's crazy.
It's like a thing.
Literally right now. Like some of
Yeah.
our closest friends. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy.
what
Mhm.
keeps you two together?
What keeps that's such a loaded question.
know.
I mean, there's a million different practices that we have done every day that I think work really well. And then we've also come up with some like core things that that we do and don't do, and also learn to argue. So I think there's so many things to unpack there. But a big one is we do something called the Power 9 every day, which is 3 things you are grateful for, 3 things you're excited about, and 3 things you're manifesting. And it sounds super basic, but what it does is it always keeps us knowing exactly where each other
So
are
you
at.
share that directly with Chris?
Out loud
We do
with
it out
each
loud
other.
every day.
Okay.
And there's never a single day that goes down where I don't know what Lori's excited about or what she's working on or, you know, what she has coming up that day. So we stay like really, really connected from the start of the day, every single day.
We walk every single day, 3 miles at least, if not in the morning, 3 miles and 3 miles at night.
Another thing I think that's really worked well for us. Recently, one of my mastermind members had asked me, hey, I'm about to get married. What's your take on going to bed at the same time or not? Is it okay for one person to stay up really late? And I know everyone's got opinions on this, but the thing that I think has really served us well from a intimacy standpoint and being close to each other standpoint and just staying out of trouble standpoint is for 20 years, we have gone to bed at the same time together, unless one of us is traveling, every single night. And I really credit Lori for this because I'm naturally born to stay up late and she's a natural go to bed early kind of individual. And so for years she'd say, okay, let's go to bed. And she'd kind of drag me to bed kicking and screaming and say, I'm not tired yet. And of course, as soon as I got up there, I'd zonk right out. But I really think that is a great best practice to have for couples that want to make it in the long run.
Yeah. What time do you guys go to bed?
9:30?
9:30, yeah.
That's us. We make it till 10. We're like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're wild if we're
We're
best.
wild.
10.
Yeah,
On the
10
weekends,
is-
I'm like 11. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, 11, that's crazy. Usually if we're out at like 10:30, I'm like, I start to get so tired. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we're done.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm over
we're the
it.
people in
Yeah, meet
Vegas
us
that go to
during
the
the
club
day.
at
During the
7:30.
Yeah, exactly. I
They're
know.
like, actually, we've been actually a few times going to clubs, and it's like 8:30 p.m. and we're the only ones in the club, and everyone's like catering to our needs.
For
And
sure.
we're just
It's the
dancing by
best.
ourselves,
And then we
and
leave
then
at like
everybody
10.
starts showing up. We're like, oh yeah, we're out of here now.
You're like, this is terrible
home.
now.
Okay, so you've been going to bed at the same time. You wake up at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do wake up at the
Yeah,
same
we
time.
do. And that
time
way,
do you wake up?
that way we're lined up in the morning, right? We can do the
6,
same
6:30.
routine. We can do the stuff together.
He wakes up at 3:30. I'm just not going to wake up
No,
that early. That's in
I
the middle
will-
of the
That's
night.
early.
No, that would be
I
the
don't need more than
difference.
5
I
hours.
do think in the morning, if someone wants to get up earlier, great, because
Yeah.
they're doing their
Yeah.
thing. They need their time. But like,
Nighttime's different.
yeah, I feel like nighttime is different.
Yeah.
Do you cuddle?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We are skin to skin every single night.
So you sleep naked?
Yep.
But it wasn't
Nice.
always like that. That actually
Who started
just.
sleeping naked first?
I think we've slept naked our
I think we've
whole.
always been naked
whole time?
sleepers for
I'm
sure.
like our whole marriage
We've
career.
always been
Yeah.
naked
Our marriage
sleepers.
Our
career.
whole marriage career, we've been nudist colony.
So
night.
we don't have kids, so like
Yeah.
it never, you know what I mean?
You
Yeah.
don't
So,
have to wear clothes for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, every night we will be skin to skin in bed. No devices, no anything. I think that's really important from a lasting standpoint.
It's awesome. We love that. I sleep naked all the time. Only challenges is that my 5-year-old
You have a
and
5-year-old
3-year-old
emerges
Yeah,
in the
running
middle of the
in,
night.
and then I'm
yeah.
laying there naked, going, well, now I'm going to have to make some adjustments.
That changes.
exactly. I know.
And Danielle likes to play hard to get with her sweats,
No.
and then she'll decide not to wear her
Sometimes
sweats.
I like it really cold and I like to like really
Yeah.
bundle
Yeah.
in. So, you know.
Lori makes the bedroom so cold, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
We like it
to-
cold. We sleep better.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
keeps you under the covers.
Yeah.
Okay, so what run us back here? So people have to ask, like, was this a choice not to have children? You did want to have kids. You didn't want to have kids. You couldn't have kids.
Remember when we met you guys in the montage like forever ago?
Yeah.
And I was right after I had Isla.
Yep.
And I like came and saw you guys and we had like a brief conversation.
I think
And
you told
had-
us about this.
You told me you were thinking about adopting or maybe not, or I don't know. I never really circled back
Yeah.
around with the story, but
So do you want to take it or?
Sure. When just because I remember dates and like how old I was. So when I was 37, I'm 43 now. We decided to start trying to have kids. So we like really tried naturally for probably like a year. maybe 2, actually more like two or 3
like
years.
tried to the point where it almost became a chore.
Yeah,
Right.
like scheduled it, like had to learn about. At first we didn't.
Yeah.
And it's funny because so many people are like, "Oh, just relax and it'll happen." And I'm like, I was very relaxed.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get much more relaxed around it. Like I just didn't feel any of those things that people were telling me, like maybe you're stressed or you're trying too hard. I'm like, no. And then we started trying to learn about it because it wasn't working. And him and I both didn't have huge stress around it, though. I can say the whole time because we're so happy either way. But we did really want a child at the same time. So I would say probably 3 years down the road, then we started IVF. So I did 2 rounds of IVF, like hated it.
Yeah.
Just thought it was pretty absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you are, I'm really in my career and in my, and we are traveling a lot and like traveling with all of those shots and your life really stops like for a while. Right?
Yeah. You gotta give her credit though. She was a trooper. You hear the nightmare stories of IVF.
Yeah.
You almost couldn't tell she was going through it. And not that should be the standard, but you got to pay her a compliment that you're a trooper through the whole thing.
I mean, I think the whole process, that really gave me a lot of grace for people. Like it really helped me just understand where people were at. If anything that I got out of that, it was such a beautiful lesson for what we do and what we talk about and talking to people. Like I really got to understand deeply that mindset and what it takes to even go through that. So that didn't work for 2 rounds.
Embryos. And every time we'd make embryos, they'd come back non-viable. Like, hey, these probably aren't healthy enough for you guys to proceed. So it wasn't that we weren't able to make a handful of embryos every single time. It was just they kept saying, hey, these probably aren't going to be healthy enough for you guys to proceed. So that kind of put us at the crossroads of, okay, maybe this isn't meant to be naturally. Maybe we start checking out adoption. And because we were at that crossroads, it became do we even want to pursue this at this age or not? And that's literally where we are right now.
We're still there. We went on a walk this morning. So our 3-mile walk consisted of, I think it was, at like the 15-minute mark. Yeah. I was like, it's so weird to me because I still feel like we're going to have a family. But I also, at this point in my life, if I'm being totally transparent, like I do not want to do the baby thing right now.
Yeah, it's hard.
Neither do I.
Like, you're my age, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 43. How old are you? 42?
I don't even know. How old am I?
You're 41.
I'm 41.
41. Yeah, I think we're a couple.
No, you're 42. You're 42.
No, I'm 41. I was 40 last year. Yeah.
At some point, it just becomes irrelevant at some point.
That's great. That's how it should be. Just forget about
47.
it.
I'm 41. He's 47.
8.
He's 48.
Okay.
I'm not good with numbers.
Yeah, who cares?
Clearly.
Am I the oldest one here?
I'm 46.
I think so.
Yes, I am.
But yeah, I get it. Like you feel like there's like this window. Like it's not, well, you're in great shape and it's not like you couldn't be a mom and run around and do all the things, It's just
it's a weird, it's a mindset and it's like where it's our relationship. It's like so many things that would change.
Yeah.
Lots would change.
We had Ileb. We tried. She was my 3rd daughter.
Yeah.
And then my 4th one was a surprise. And it was a good thing she was a surprise because like I get it. Like where we're at in life right now, I'm like, I love her so much, but I'm like, whoa, like it's a lot of work because we went from having 2 to like doubling our family.
Yeah, totally.
So like I totally empathize with that. Like every night I'm like, you did this to me. We have a 5-year-old.
There's some nights.
And because it's like you're at this age where it's like you got to wait 10, 15 years where they're self-reliant and doing their own thing. Like our older daughters are there. I'm like, if we just had them, we're always like, if we just had them be so easy. but I love my babies, you know? So,
totally.
We always joke, we're like, if we just start with like 12-year-olds where they're in a really cool phase, that'd be awesome.
Seriously.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Want a part-time parent?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's what I'll tell you. You're
for the
also
weekend.
You're also at a different space in life where you're older, you're established,
Mm-hmm.
you have help. You're not gonna have, if you decide this, you're not gonna have like the mom guilt. Like when I had kids in my 20s, there was so much mom guilt. I couldn't even go on a date night without feeling guilty about hiring help.
Yeah.
There was just, I was raised in a Mormon atmosphere and that's kind of how it was. And so now I told him, our last kid, I was like, with Charlie, she's so sweet. I go, I'm not waiting to live life to when I'm retired. I'm like, I'm going to live life now. So we travel and we do all the things and we have full-time staff and nannies because I'm like, I had 2 kids. I got blessed with 2 more, but that doesn't mean I can't still create my life to what I want it to be. So if you are considering it, just remember, like you guys are established and you can create it to be whatever you want. But for me, it was just like, I had to let go that I needed to be with my kids all the time because I work too. And I will not, my kids are very much a part of my purpose, but so is my other purpose.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women fall into this space that their kids are their only purpose and think that they can't have multiple purposes. Yep. So that's my only advice that I would give you guys as a mama for is if you still feel it in your heart and your souls and you entertain options and God gives it to you, then it's meant to be.
I'll expand this. I'll take it one more step. We don't like want for anything right now. And I think that's what makes it tough is because we're super happy, super fulfilled. And I think there's even a part of, I'm just going to speak for myself, a part of me that is afraid like, hey, everything's really good. Yeah. Don't F it up. You know what I mean? And obviously, like you said, this would completely change the dynamic and everything's not kind of good. Everything's like super fucking good. Yeah. And so I think I'm afraid of changing that dynamic up a little bit. And at the same time, I think I'm afraid I'm going to wake up in 15 years and be like, there's nothing cool to pursue anymore. I wish I would have had little humans to raise. So it's a real catch-22 when you don't necessarily, you're not missing anything right now and you're trying to predict how you're going to feel in 15 years and if you should do it for that.
That's what we're trying to, it's such an interesting place to be because we're trying to forecast our future of how we're going to feel. And it's like, that's coming from a place of, like he said, being really fulfilled right now, but also being able to go, you know, because we have moments, we've had so many different businesses and we love them. And we're such builders together. We're such creators. We love it. We actually love building a dream. We love creating things. We love like dreaming of, we go look at, you know, homes on the weekends because we love like manifesting, thinking, creating, building. But there is a little piece of it that every time we've gotten something that we've wanted, we're like, is this what it was all for? Like there's a little piece that's like, is there something that's more, you know, because all of those things we know they don't fulfill you, but we love the build, like we love the process, but what is it all for? And is it, so today, if we're going to go down the spiral, because this is where we go. Today, I was like, you know, it's just one big kind of cruel, fucked up joke. Just follow me. That's what I said to him. I'm like, just follow me here. Because truly, it's like, at the end of the day, it's just if you decide that it means something at all. Like, was it that him and I were just supposed to be a couple with no children and that's what it was supposed to mean? And we were supposed to maybe inspire people who couldn't have kids or do whatever? Or was it that, you know, we came up with all of these ulterior meanings that you just have to, at the end of the day, decide, like commit to a decision. Yeah. And that's the decision that you're going with. Yeah. But there's still an asterisk there. So we're kind of in the place of how do we decide what that looks like and build a life without kids, but other kids in it. Because we want children in our life, but it doesn't have to be ours.
So come back for part 2.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you guys make decisions?
I mean,
like when you're talking about manifesting, you're talking about the connection that you two have and the desire and you're builders. So how do you make a decision on what you're going to build?
This is interesting. We're dreamers and we dream out loud to each other all the time. And we always have been. That's one of the earlier you said, hey, what keeps you together? We've always been dreamers together. We've always had the same core values together. We've always been super driven together. And so to make a decision is typically like we get each other all amped up and all excited and we're very decisive people. Matter of fact, one of the things that makes my life so easy is I have the most decisive wife on the planet. There's no gray. There's either she wants it or she doesn't. And so we'll decide in a moment to like the lake house that we bought in Wisconsin was on a walk in Arizona with no talk about it ever before. And we're looking online and it's like, oh my God, look at this place. We know this place. It just came up for sale. And by the end of the walk, we said, let's make an offer on it and went home and made an offer sight unseen. So our decisions are very spur of the moment. Sometimes they bite us in the ass. Sometimes they don't, but we're very decisive and we get each other amped up on decisions.
So where does this decisiveness come from? Lori, is this a feeling like at a soul level for you and then go?
It's like a guttural thing.
I think that women have that like intuitive like, and then it's like you manifest it to your husband in a way. You're like, I saw this, and then you like he sees the vision. You're like, hey, let's go.
Yes, totally. I think for me and I don't think I've always been this decisive. I think it's gotten really good in like the past 10 years. And I think it takes enough making bad decisions and decisions that aren't yours to then know and get really clear on what decisions are for me. I think it took a lot of like living another life, meaning like thinking I wanted something else or, you know, having other certain type of friends around me or whatever to be like, this is not feeling good.
Right.
And so my whole goal is like, just really like what feels good, what feels aligned. Cause it sucks when you make those decisions and it doesn't feel good, especially once you start getting the right people in your life. your marriage starts really, really working. It's like those little things that don't align anymore become so blaring that it makes it super easy now to make those decisions. But it starts with making enough bad decisions.
I would add one more layer to this too. We're very verbal about what we want and don't want. We're very verbal about what we agree on or what we don't agree on. So when we're going down one of these rabbit holes saying, oh, should we do this? Laura will say, nope, absolutely not. I will not consider that color. Or I'll say, oh, nope, absolutely not. I will not consider that neighborhood for this reason. So we're not afraid to bluntly express our feelings instead of letting it get so far down the road that now you're afraid to express your feelings.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things for us is we decided that whoever feels like most passionately on the topic wins.
Yep.
So if it's something like, let's just say we're looking at a house in a certain neighborhood and I'm like, oh, I really love it. Like, I love this house. And he's like, I absolutely cannot do it. And here's why. Like, I can't do it. I have to have access to the water within like a 15-minute walk because this is how I really de-stress. Like, this means everything to me. This is going to be really important for my mental health every day. I'm like, God damn it. Okay. Like, you win this one.
Yeah.
So, and vice versa for him, like, we have to make our case, obviously. And then once you say the case, it's like, okay, if that won, then
it sounds like you guys have like pretty good communication with one another.
Yes.
Like a good level of respect. Would you say, like, I know you guys have gone through a lot too, because you guys kind of they lost everything when we kind of went through it all back in, what was it?
0809.
Yeah. Like, how did that happen? And where did you guys go from there? Was it hard on your relationship, or did it bring you guys closer?
This is interesting. 0809, recession happens. I was in banking, lost my job after spending a year flying around telling everybody else they lost their job. And when I came home to tell Lori, I said, babe, got some bad news. She knew things were bad, but didn't like know things were bad. I said, hey, got some bad news. Today was my day. They asked me if I wanted a demotion of a demotion of a demotion of a demotion to run this branch in Jersey and ride this thing out, or if I wanted a severance package. And I said, I took the severance package. I said, but there's more to that. I said, we've been living way beyond our means. I used to pay all the bills back then and didn't really involve her as much. I said, we've been living way beyond our means, and we're going to have to sell this house that we're in. We, kind of looked around, beautiful home that we just finished building, and get rid of the cars and literally like start from zero. Like, even the whole severance package, which was massive, had to go towards getting us out of this hole. And I remember she sat there. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to break to your wife. And she sat there, and any reaction would have been fair. But she was quiet. She looked at me and she said, I will never let this happen again. And that was the day that Lori started to become Lori, because prior to that, she didn't really have a career. She didn't have a purpose. She didn't have these things that really drove her. So it was that back against the wall moment that finally made her say, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go become who I am.
Yeah.
That's how Danielle launched.
I relate to that story so much, because like something similar happened to us. He was in banking, mortgages. Like, I knew, the thing is like, I knew the ship was sinking. I'm like, I was actually physically paying the bills, and I'm like, babe, I need money. And he's like, put it on the Amex. And I'm watching the debt rise and rise and rise and rise.
Oh, man.
And similar situation where I was like, I'm at fault too, because I saw it happening and I didn't ask. I was like, oh, he'll take care of us. And then I remember having the same exact feeling when we lost everything and literally selling furniture out of our house just to buy food because we were tapped out.
We did.
Totally.
Yeah. You're like, well, I got to eat this month. And I just remember thinking like, I will never be in this situation again. And that's when I launched my brand as well. So I was like, but that's how you became who you are today. And so everything happens like for like a reason. Were you resentful at him at all, or what was your feelings like during this?
No, it was a moment of, I think it was a moment of like taking responsibility as well. Cause it's kind of like I didn't know what was going on. I knew it from him having to travel around and fire everyone. He literally was living George Clooney up in the air, like real time.
For a year.
And, like, guy you put on 30 pounds just from the stress and just like traveling and having to go tell grown men like they're fired, and cry in front of him.
Well, let me expand on that real quick. This is, worst year of our life that year and then the year afterwards, because, one, I was doing something miserable every single day. And so to counteract that miserable thing, my coping mechanism is I'd go back to a hotel and I'd just drink as much as I could and get the cheeseburgers and the pizzas and all that stuff. So I gained 30 pounds like that. Yeah. So then when you're fat and you don't like yourself, then you become a miserable spouse. And so, I'd come home and I'd be miserable to her, and And that was, I mean,
he just wasn't his happy, normal self.
Yeah. There was a point where I think you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're like, maybe this isn't the guy I'm supposed to be married to or something like that. Isn't that right?
I just had thought, wow, this is not what I signed up for,
Yeah,
because I
that's what it
didn't
was.
actually know what was fully going on either. So I just thought like he was changing and he put on this weight, and I'm starting to get really into fitness. And I was like, oh man, I think we're like going apart.
Yeah.
And so it didn't enter my brain to be like, oh, you're going to leave. It was like, oh no. Like it was just kind of like a little exclamation point, like, ooh, we got to watch this.
So then add to that, tear off the Band-Aid. Hey babe, we're losing everything. Got to start over. She was so cool about it. But now, even though the bad part was out of the way, I still didn't have an identity anymore, because at the time my identity was, I'm the provider and I've got this big title, senior vice president at the world's biggest bank. And I've got, 1,100 people underneath me. And I've got all these things that I thought were important, that I thought made me important. And all that was stripped away from me. So now I'm overweight. I don't have a career. I've got no identity. And I have to figure out, who am I? And that doesn't happen overnight. That was more than a year of me feeling like I didn't want to pursue anything at the same time as her out there saying, I've got to be someone, and watching her hustle and me feeling just like a lump of nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when I would ever get any kind of driver's S back.
That was a crazy time, because if you remember, like there was nowhere for you guys to go. Like the industry was like collapsed at the moment. So it wasn't like he could go, I couldn't be like, babe, go do something else. Cause that's kind of all he knew at the time. We didn't know about like this online world, and it didn't really even exist yet back then. And so for me, I had always had big dreams of being a quote unquote fitness person. I don't know what that was at the time. For me, it was like the only thing that I saw was like a Jillian Michaels or like a, Biggest Loser or magazine covers. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I think like just get on magazine covers was the goal. And that had been my goal since I was a little girl. I just never thought it was possible living in a small town and being raised the way that I was.
By the way, we thought that would change our life. Oh, if you just get on a magazine cover, everything will
be
Isn't that great?
That's all you gotta do.
Know.
We'll be rich forever.
Famous.
Not at all.
Nothing changes. In fact, at the time to be on magazine covers, you paid your own way. You paid for all your clothes.
Oh, wow.
You literally paid for everything.
Wow.
And maybe they'll put you on. So yeah, I did not get paid for one cover.
Yeah.
I was on 11 big covers and was not paid for one.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All fitness
but it's
magazines?
not a career. Yeah.
We
all fitness
learned though
magazines.
how to leverage that. We learned, and when, before everyone had audiences, before everyone was like making social media a thing, we realized real quickly, wait, we can leverage this.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we started online memberships and things like that to really.
When I first heard of you, somebody's like, "Oh, she's big into fitness. She's on all these covers." But I only knew you for like all your other programs. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." But
So while she's getting on the covers, you get fit again?
Yep. I got fit because she was competing. Matter of fact, you guys just competed a month ago or something like that. I never competed, but because there would be nothing in the house to eat except chicken and greens.
Rice.
I'm like, you're
and
not
because we
ordering
were
that
doing
pizza.
2-a-day workouts, and because we weren't going out or having any cocktails or doing anything, by default, I got really, really fit. And that became my new identity was up till 2020. It was, even though I didn't compete, it was how fit could I be and how fit could we be as a couple?
Yeah.
And I think that really served us for a lot of years.
Yeah.
It did.
It's a connection piece.
It becomes a foundation for so much.
Big time.
It's learning so much discipline, like and letting go of instant gratification, like the amount of gratification you have to let go of to compete, and then live that lifestyle like consistently, and then to like try to stay in magazine shape all the time was like next.
Yeah.
That was next level for me.
Yeah.
Were you bikini competitor?
I did
physique?
bikini and figure,
And
actually,
figure.
always
And
both
fitness.
at the same show.
Oh,
It
wow.
was the shows
and then
were
I did.
different. It wasn't like Muscle Comp. It was a different company.
It's called Fitness America.
Yeah.
So it was the one that was also on TV for a while. But yeah, it was really big for a while. And then when WBFF came, it kind of like that's what that turned more
ESPN
into.
middle of the night, you'd always see the fitness
Yes.
company. It was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Did the routines, like did some of the routines.
Yes.
Never had done it ever.
Wow.
Like no dance, no
so
gymnastic
during all
background.
this, what were you doing for business? How did you like rediscover yourself there?
A friend of mine that used to work with me at the bank, he was always my boss. Every time I'd move up, he'd move up, or vice versa. His name was Todd, and he had started right before the shit hit the fan. He had started a little tiny mortgage brokerage, left the bank and started a little mortgage brokerage. And he came to me the day that I got laid off and said, "Hey, heard you got laid off. News travels fast. Why don't you come over here? Be my partner. I think that we could really turn this into something special because you're good at the things that I'm not, and I'm good at the things that you're not." And I didn't want to do it. I was a shell of a person at that point. I was uninterested in staying in that industry, especially during that time when everyone's closing their doors. Yeah. But I did it out of fear. I was afraid that I didn't have any other options. I was kicked out of college. All I knew was sales in the banking industry. And so I said, all right, let's do it. Now, here's where he was right and here's where he was wrong. Our skill sets were very complementary.
Yeah.
We turned that thing when everybody else was closing their doors. Wow. We figured out kind of a pay plan that would be, pay them if they did something, pay them nothing if they didn't. Reduced all our overhead, and we ended up just crushing it. We were 36 months after that point, we were doing about $400 million worth of loans out of our own warehouse lines. We went from being a mortgage brokerage to a mortgage bank. And when we got big, the same thing that made us get big, the complementary or opposite skill sets, made us opposite leaders, opposite leadership styles. And it became so incredibly toxic. And I became so incredibly miserable that I sold out my shares of the mortgage bank to Todd and our partners.
And
for pennies on the dollar.
That then opened you up.
Then I came home.
For the adventure that you two...
Oh, you're going to get a kick out of this. So I came home and I said the same thing that Todd said to me 3 years earlier. I go, babe, how about I come home and I'll do all the things that you're good at and you do all the things that I'm not good at, and together it's going to be awesome. Oh my God, it was bad for 6 months.
So bad.
It was bad.
So bad.
You agreed to this, Lori? You were like, okay, let's do this.
Well, I was like, great, because there were so many things I'm terrible at. Like, so I'm a creator. I want to be out like speaking and talking and doing that type and leading. And I don't want to do the back end stuff. Like I didn't want to do any of like the web stuff.
I'm laughing because you guys are like so similar to us. I'm like, we pair so well together, but
and I'm linear and organized. I'm like, no problem. I got this. And
so he comes home, and I'm also in like a place of like really starting to learn about like spirituality and manifesting and like just trying to like learn that whole law of attraction, everything. So I'm doing okay. Like we're doing okay.
Let me add. So she's in this very spiritual, I want to attract everything phase. And I just left 11 or 12 years of pure masculinity, fastest way
like
to
boiler room.
Like boiler room, right? So I came home and thought that would coexist somehow.
Oh, so, no, you thought you were going to bring the boiler room home.
Yeah, we're going to get efficient.
It was so bad. I would be like working on something, or I'd be trying to meditate, and he'd be like, we need these sales. We need this many more women, and we need this. And I'm like, it was so bad. And he was
I
so
want to
annoying.
call it in. I'm like,
he'd be over my shoulder, and I'm like, I have to like picture them. I have to like see them. I have to figure out how I'm supposed to talk to them. Like, he did not like any of that. And so I hated him, like literally hated him. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. That was when we realized, because we were just screaming at each other, like screaming. And so that's when I think that was the first time we literally said out loud, like, we have to learn how to fight. Like we have to learn what's off limits, what we can't say to each other. Cause when you get mad at each other, that really, I can go to a really nasty place really quickly. And that would be, that was like where he's got really, really good boundaries in quite a few things that has like, and when I hit a boundary, it's like, I know that there's no coming back from it. So I had hit it a few times in life that really actually like served me well. And I think that was one of the things is like, I would just say something maybe super nasty to you or
and
upset.
I'll tell her, I'll say,
and it was like,
never
again. And we have to figure this out. So then we would learn like how to fight, what's off limits, what names can't I call you? What can I call you?
I love how you're saying we learned how to fight.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It's part of marriage, but there are things where you're like, I took it too far and I can't undo that. You know?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like,
100%.
Yeah.
So during this time of being business partners and the war's breaking out, what's happening to your sex life?
Oh, interesting.
I don't think there was any during that time.
Well,
really.
I'll tell you, we did the most unsexy thing ever. We'd go to bed each night reading Secrets of the Millionaire Mind out loud and then doing the actions of like, I have a millionaire mind. Like,
you're just like business partners.
I think that was like priority for a while. Like we just needed to get our lives. And I think we were both on board for that.
Yeah.
We just needed to get like our shit together. Like there was it was like, we're go mode. We are partners. Like, let's go.
Were you guys laying in bed naked while reading?
Absolutely. Well,
so see, naked bed.
Shout out to T. Harbecker. Shout out to T. Harbecker.
Yep. T. Harbecker and his nighttime threesome.
I couldn't go to bed naked. He'd just be like this the whole time. I'd be like, babe,
I'd just be like, let me hold it while you read. Just read the next chapter. Stay focused.
Oh my gosh, why am I thinking this? Please make me tell you a pun after that I thought of with T. Harbecker.
I'll tell the pun now.
T. Hardpecker.
Oh,
T. Hardpecker.
We're never coming back from that one.
T. Hardpecker has now sparked the T. Hardpecker. The Hardpecker.
We can edit that, but my brain is a 14-year-old boy.
Of that
it's
greatness.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're laying in bed naked, reading Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, while Chris is trying to control you from the backside, giving you all the detailed structure, and you as an artist are like, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so sex did kind of slow down.
Oh yeah, it definitely slowed down.
The reason we're asking because like we know a lot of couples that work together, but people see couples working together, beautiful people like you two working together, and they don't understand
how hard it
the
is.
carnage of the
'Cause-
business partner, lover, transition
like
back and forth and
business
back and forth and back and forth.
Oh yeah. Listen, it's always ebbed and flowed while we've worked together in like phases, if you will, right? And the reason why is half the time you go to bed so tired or so stressed out or so
Pissed.
Pissed.
Yeah.
That's the last thing on your mind. But when it's ebbed and flowed for us, the one thing that we have always done is we've still gone to bed at the same time, naked and embraced and held each other. And so even though we might not have been in the mood for a streak, we still were not like rolling over backs to each other every single night for 2 decades now. What do you say? First thing you're like
Army.
Yep. You're like Army. And that means I got to put my arm out and
Just
she
put your
comes and she
arm out.
rolls in like legs over me and I just kind of roll her in. And we've never stopped doing that.
No.
So we've always had intimacy.
Yeah.
Haven't always had sex streaks.
Got it. So who breaks the streak? Does Lori just actually say,
I think
this
Lori
guy
is more of a streak
this guy
breaker.
needs to be, this guy needs to come right now, and
Do
you're
you
like,
guys
is
Yeah.
it like, or is it you finally like pull the massage 12-shot like strategy?
Foot massage and
Okay,
the
you need a
wine.
massage. Keep drinking that tequila. I got you.
No, I think 4 out of 5 times you're the streak breaker. Yeah.
I think most women are the streak breaker.
Are they? I
think
didn't know
it's
that.
Very
Why?
Really?
frustrating. Yes, Danielle's the
Well,
same way.
it's
Wait,
like-
why is that? Unpack that.
I think my only experience is okay, go.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, they're like, I feel like women don't need it as much, and like we can feel this tension, and we're like, let's just break the tension. Like, it's like this is so stupid now. Even if it's like you're busy or you're tired or whatever, this resentment and this tension builds. So like we're with him, I'm like, why am I bugged that he just put a spoon right there? Like little things like that, and I'm like, oh, we need to go take care of something.
Yeah.
Well, my
Like,
problem is
interesting.
if it goes past 7 days, I start shutting down.
Well,
if
he-
it goes
like-
past 10 days, I'm like, you're a fucking lampshade.
It's like
Literally, you just
like I
become
don't
another
exist
thing. You're another
anymore.
person
Like,
in
I'm
my
like,
world.
hello.
You're not my lover anymore. You're just like a woman that's in my world, and you're like a team member.
Yeah, we're just like we're like roommates. We're just like
Yeah.
high five on the way out, and I'm like, oh, that's not good.
It'll be so when you get into those streaks like that of not doing it, you'll go to bed and you'll be conscious of it. And you'll be like, oh, I know that we should do this right now, but I'm tired. Or, oh, I know it's been a while, but, I know it's been, but I'm angry, right? And you have this guilt or this, it's not that it's not top of mind. It's very much top of mind. You're like, oh my God, it's been a lot of days. I should do something about it. And I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Is it top of mind for you, Lori, or is it just top of mind for you, Chris?
Maybe I'm the only one that feels that
It's
way.
always top of mind for guys.
Sometimes.
And guys start counting. They start counting the days. They start counting the number of orgasms they haven't had, or they'll think
I start to
it
feel
was
the
a
guilt
long
thing. I'll
time.
be like,
Then I had an
oh.
orgasm, and then you're like, hey, is it going to be another week? You're like, if I add all the math up, that's like one time in like 20 days. What the fuck is happening right now? Every guy. The interesting part is you spent your world with women. I've spent the last 12 years with men.
That's interesting.
Training 65,000 men. So like these questions come up all the time. Then you get couples that are powerful together. And almost every time it's the woman who gets in the game because guys are actually limited. You two control the jewelry box, meaning if I want to end the streak and I come to you, I say, hey, we need to end the streak, babe.
like,
It
you're
looks
cute.
like you really need to come hard. You need to release some tension. I learned this move.
I'm like, I'm
I've got
actually
a
really
bottle of
pissed about
tequila,
you.
a bottle of wine, and I'm going to massage your feet. I have a new friend. His name's Chris. He taught me the strategy.
Turning leaf,
Exactly.
Behringer.
How to turn your wife around in 12 shots or less. So, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And particularly with women like you two, because you both are opinionated, powerful, connected, driven, and you also an ability to say, hey, I have a purpose. I do these other things. I'm not sitting around thinking about having orgasms all day long. The more powerful a guy gets, the more he thinks about sex. The more success he has, the more he thinks about sex. So this is why there's so many couples that are getting into the position we were talking before the show, that they're rising. The guys are continuing to rise in power. The women control the sex tool, control the sex game. These guys are committed to one vagina. They're rising in power and getting attention from everywhere, and they get tired of the war. That's why couples who run companies together, I can't name for you more than maybe 10 right now who have stayed together. Or couples, if you see celebrity couples rising in power, athlete with singer, because you start having your own opinions about life and how you're going to operate. And being able to come back together. Now, throw 5 kids in the mix, and it's a fucking circus. So now you're like, how in the world do we generate this? And we had to go through a ton to get to a place to figure that out. But it's still, even now, if we get to a place where it's been like a week, which doesn't hardly go past a week anymore, because like I'm too aware of it now. I'm like, it's been 5 days. I've been grinding, training 5,000 guys this week. Like I'm in such alpha mode, and in alpha mode, I want to fuck and I want to build shit. That's it. So like we've had to come, like I've had to be very honest with her, and she's had to be very honest with me about what we need. It's not like our Power 9, what you guys have. It's like our...
Well, I think too with kids...
I manifest getting laid. That's one of the...
Exactly. That's like write down, my manifestation is laid tonight.
I think though, for me, like I used to like withhold a little bit because he'd be out working and grinding, and I would just be like, well, my needs didn't get met. So that's when I realized I wasn't doing myself any favors, because now like I was like pushing him away, but then it would like almost go from pushing him away, then he would just get numb and work even more. And I was like, well, that didn't help me. So that's why for me, like I recognized that like years ago where I was like, I got to break the streak or whatever it is, you know? And now we're way more aware of it. I'm like, it's just like, it's not even like the sex, it's like the connection, you know? Like I can tell when we're really connected, and I can tell when I'm like high-fiving him on the way out, you know? So it's like staying in that place where you don't get too far disconnected. You guys know you're so busy. It's hard to stay 100% like just connected all the time, but recognizing when you feel drifted.
This is interesting. So you said something. You said, you know, when people are working together, it gets that much more difficult. I think people think that Lori and I work together on businesses, and we haven't done that for years. And that's intentional. We learned along the way that working together on the same business, while it could be fun and could be cool in some ways, creates a lot of damn problems.
Yeah.
We do events together, but
we do some events
and a
together,
podcast, but that doesn't
that's
feel
like second nature to us now.
How long ago did you know that you needed to do this? So that you two could not only survive, but you could thrive together?
I can't think of the year, but maybe it's been like 7 years now.
Yeah. 7, 8 years.
What had the decision come up? Was it just Warzone?
I think it wasn't fun. Like, I just think we weren't having fun. And I also like, he wants to do his own thing that feels very different than what I want to do. And we just kind of created separate paths. Now we do come together for events, which feels fun though. We have a team. We just get to speak on stage together. Like we kind of only have to spend a couple hours together prepping for that, which even that can feel difficult sometimes.
Start bickering. Which is a reminder why we don't necessarily build businesses, the same businesses together. But where I was going to go with this is we're not two entrepreneurs working on the same business. We're two entrepreneurs that happen to be under the same roof, if that makes sense. And that's helped because we have separate lives now. We find each other more interesting, which means we find each other more attractive. I don't know what went on with her day at the end of the day, as opposed to being there for everything that went on, during the day.
That's very different. That's a very different vibe.
I see her in a different, sexier light, that she's off running this business autonomously, and I get to go off and run mine autonomously. So I'm guessing that maybe you see me in a different
Our conversations are way better because
So people are struggling with this. Maybe take a look at building separate businesses and being two entrepreneurs under the same roof instead of being two people working on the same business together.
Yeah.
We've gone through that.
We've gone through it. Yeah. I mean, but my problem is like, I always, because I have so many damn kids, I'm always like, I feel like I want to put my time and attention into my kids for a season. And so then I'm like, hey, can you come over here and like help me out? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, as much as we have separate, I always have to kind of pull him in a little bit, but.
Do you have that down though now? Like, do you guys kind of have a groove with that?
We're better now than we have been. There was like a few years where we were like running events together, like my hair events. Yeah. And I was like the artist and he was like the manager, but I was always like, we were always fighting. Yeah. And so we were just like, we've got to separate Warrior and MBR, and they can't be, like you guys said, like two businesses under, but again, I still have to pull him in a little bit because I feel like I can't give it all my attention and time that I want to, but I do love being a mom. So I'm always like trying to like balance doing both things. But
it's a lot juggling. A son who's engaged, who is now pregnant. You're going to be a grandma.
Oh, God.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
he said
I can't imagine mixing all of that in.
Grandma.
I was like, I
Grandma
don't know if we're supposed to be
Danielle.
announcing that yet, but
Grandma
can you call me like
Danielle.
G-Mom?
yeah. Well, I was telling his friends, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a grandma. And
How
they're
about
like, you don't
Mama?
sound too excited. I'm like, sorry,
Mom.
I'm going to be a grandma.
She's going to be a gilf.
Yeah.
That's right. Gilf. She went from MILF to gilf. Congratulations.
I got you.
But that, and then about 4 other girls, 2 teenage daughters. I mean, we had the first one is just permanently is committed to making sure the world knows she has her nipples pierced.
Oh my
And
God.
she's singing.
Yeah.
And then the 13-year-old is now committed to also freeing the nipple.
Mm.
That started here this
Teenagers
last
are
2
rough.
weeks. And then we got
Fun to
toddlers.
navigate.
So like it's been interesting with Danielle because
Wow.
then so with couples where they're doing business together, plus they got kids, or they're doing business together, they don't, or couples that have been married before, divorced, and then came together. All these dynamics are so different
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
everybody's kind of got their thing figured out. Like one of the guys I'm good friends with, him and his wife are like on fire. They run companies together, and he's like, but the only reason it works is because she's got second wife vibes.
Yeah.
She's got second wife.
Second wife vibes.
Oh,
She's
okay.
already established herself. She's a producer. She already is very clear about herself and committed to her manifestation routines and meditation. And she's like in her own lane. I'm in my lane. Second wife power. He's like, first wife was like, we were running up together and it was rough.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still think though, like whether you have kids or you don't, like the fact that you guys have been married is like
Yeah.
they're that long. There's something to be said about that. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so I always like to have people on. I'm like, well, what are some of your secrets that you could share with people? But it seems like you guys just have like a really like honest conversations with each other. You have your routines you do together. And it's like at some point you're just like, you're my person.
Mhm.
It's very much you're my person, and like making that commitment out loud. Hey, I'm not going anywhere. Are you going anywhere? No, you're not going. So
Mhm.
why keep fighting? As a matter of fact, a lot of times when we're fighting, I'll literally be like, listen, if you're not going anywhere and if I'm not going anywhere, all we're doing is just making this time that we're going to spend together much more miserable. So why
Yeah.
don't we just cut to the chase and get over it?
Mm.
And I think there's that realization that happens is when you know you're committed and there's not one foot out the door, there's
Yeah.
not an escape route, then you might as well get it over with instead of dragging it out because you're only making your own life
Mhm.
Yeah,
miserable.
Yeah. If you're both in it, then you're just ruining your day.
Mhm.
Like you're literally just taking hours away from what could be great.
Yeah. You're like, this is stupid. I always tell them, I'm like, we're too powerful to be in this dumb argument.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Like, why are we spending so much time here?
Totally.
But it's hard. I mean, there's still like triggers and everything else. And so it's like, okay, like sometimes we just have to have like space to like
Yes.
process.
Yep.
But-
Mhm.
And that space to process, I think advice I'd give people, have your own life and have your own set of friends as well.
Mm.
I know there's differentiating of opinions on this, but I've got my own set of friends and my own life and my own business to pursue. She has her own set of friends, her own life, her own business to pursue. And then we have our common threads
Mhm.
in there as well.
Mhm.
And if you can balance that, I think that's the best way to go because I can't expect her to be all things for me and be there to have all conversations that I need to have.
Yeah.
Right? Some I just need to have them with my guy friends
Mhm.
and vice versa. She can't expect me to be all things that she needs
Mhm.
and vice versa. That's an unrealistic
It's like
expectation.
too needy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's way too
Mhm.
needy.
Yeah,
you know?
I like that you're sharing that. After this last baby, I told Garrett, I was like, I was telling Lori too. I'm like, I think I need to get it back out there. I'm like, I need friends.
Yep.
I'm like, I love you and like conversations, but I'm like, I need like more than just date nights. You know,
You need
I'm like,
girls
I
to
need
talk to.
Yeah, I was like,
To spill the tea to. They
because
don't
I
try to solve
try to
the
spill
problem.
the tea to him. And he's like, solve my problems. I'm like, I don't need you to do
No,
that.
we just
Same,
we're
I do
here
the
to
same thing.
analyze
Yeah.
for hours
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not get anywhere.
Yes.
But I love it. So she'll come back from these girls' masterminds that she'll go on, right? And she'll just be gone 2-3 nights and she'll come back. And I love the version of Lori she is because she comes back, she's refreshed and she's like, I've got this idea and I've got this and I've got that. And I didn't have to do
Yeah.
any of the processing.
Her needs were met. Like she's
right,
like, I'm good.
right, right.
Yeah.
There'll be times where he's really struggling in his business too. And I'm like,
Right
you
now.
need to call. And there's this group of guys
Mhm.
that I'm like, you need to go and you just need to go be around them.
Yeah,
Because whenever they like, pour life into him or they tell him to get over it or they like help him out or whatever it looks like. But I can't imagine not having that group of guys. Like, because I can't fix sometimes what he needs. He
Yeah.
needs a different version of like, sometimes he needs a kick in the ass. And if it coming from me, that's just going to sound, who knows what
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
but it's not going to get through to
It
him.
goes
So.
back to what you said. So I don't want my wife to have to be my coach and an hour later have to be my sexual partner.
Yeah.
Like that's not sexy. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
We've learned that the hard way. I'll try to ask him for advice, and then he's like, "You want to go have sex?" I'm like, "No,
no, you're my coach right now."
Oh, I've learned.
You just told me about my limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No, now I can tell he'll be like, "How was your day?" And I was like, "Oh, he wants to get laid." Okay.
I know. I'm like, anything this woman says sounds good to me. I'm like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'll be like venting. I'm like, "Good job,
what a
babe.
bitch.
Thanks."
Oh God, how do you stand her? What else happened?
What else? Tell me more. Let's
the whole time
analyze
I'm
and
like
not
running
fix anything.
mantras in my mind to stay present and focused, and like, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. Don't solve it. Yep, that's an easy one to fix. Don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
I learned a great line that I use now, and that is, she'll be like, where are you right now? I'm like, I'm just holding space.
It's so annoying, but it works. I'm like, got it. Okay. Yeah. He's telling me all he wants to do is solve this right now, but he's keeping his mouth shut. Got it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing a guy can do, honestly. Yeah. But I have to pre-frame Garrett. Not that was rude, but like I have to pre-frame Garrett. I'm like, I need to tell you something. And it could be about our daughter. And I'm like, but don't try to solve the problem. And he's so funny. 10 minutes later, he's like, Bailey, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what did I tell you?
We can't stop it though. Yeah. It's how we're built. It's literally how we're built.
I got a bomb text from my daughter yesterday, and she's super angry about the guy that we were doing stuff with, and he's interrupting. And it's this long thread.
It's like
by the time I'm halfway through it, I've already messaged the producer. I messaged this manager. I'm like, we're meeting in 10 minutes. And then I'm like, hey, do you want me to take these people out or what? She's like, no, I'm just sharing tea with you. I was like, well, it must have been laced with tequila because I was ready to go handle things right now. This is why, like, if I am not around guys.
But it's then women don't feel safe to share. So like, it's like, I want to share so much with him. And then I'm like, maybe I'll go talk to Bailey or one of my friends.
Totally.
I'm like, is he going to try to go fix this? And like, what is going to happen?
Oh yeah.
It's crucial. You have to have these other sets of people, so you're not expecting your partner to be the
But don't you want to, like, sometimes, like, there's like things I'm like, I want to share this with you though. Like, you're my best friend, so it's like hard because you're like, I might get a little bit of kickback or backlash or you solving it, but I still want to share this with you. You know,
I'll get that sometimes, but he knows that I'll say, okay, so he knows that it's getting solved. I'll be like, my process is like, I will get the answer. I just have to say it out loud 20 times from different angles. But I need to be the one to get the answer. Right. So if he knows like, oh, she's doing this for a purpose, sometimes I feel like that'll be really good. But other times it's like, I think just creating that language together is super vital.
So you're like talking in circles until you're like, I answered everything. Thanks for being a sounding board.
Totally. I'm like, oh my God, I've got it.
Thank you. Space, babe.
He's like, you're welcome.
And that's what my girlfriends will do. When I was really struggling, when the original company that we had interviewed on, Light Pink, was turning into Glossy, I would talk to him and he would just want to like solve it in that moment. And I'm like, I don't know what the next thing is yet. Like I have to be passionate about it. And so with my girlfriends, we would go on these really long walks where we would like talk about the same exact thing or come from every angle. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes it'd be like 2 hours of the same thing. And at the end, maybe I'd have an answer or not, or I'd feel closer to something, but that would destroy his soul. Like the way that we're doing it.
Although the irony is I'm there now, right? So I'm making a big pivot with my company and it's a forced pivot. And I need hours and hours and hours of, sounding out all these ideas and all this stuff. And now I know I can't go rely on her.
I mean, I'm down for analyzing. So
I actually can't. I can't do that with Danielle.
Right.
No. I'm on a new project, which is demasculinize my wife.
I'm not masculine.
No, I turned you into a dude, and dudes do it all the time. Well,
when I was in my very in the thick of things, like we were in competition with each other. We weren't even married anymore. I was like, no, I'm going to produce, and it was like we would compete on
financials. We compete on everything. It was not fun.
But
did that serve you at all, though? I mean,
no.
was that a good thing or no?
No, because I didn't really realize I was doing that, and then I got to this place where it was like we were almost going to get divorced, and I was like, I want to be feminine. I don't want to be like so angry and resentful, and I want to be sexy and flirty and all these things. I'm like, it just went away because I was just in like grind and mode. And honestly, like right after my first 2 kids, I didn't know if we were going to stay together. So I started my business honestly as like an escape route. Like I was like, I'm going to start stockpiling cash and I don't know if this is going to work out. And so I was rebuilding like trust with him after losing everything and having kids. So it didn't serve me at all. But I got to this place where I was like, okay, either I fix it with this guy or I get divorced and figure it out with another guy. And I was like, I've got 2 kids at this point. I probably should try to figure it out with this guy. And so I had to really go back to, that's when we started the Date Right podcast. It was like forever ago. Cause I was like, we've got to learn how to date again. Yeah. Cause I'm like, I know there's chemistry there. We kind of lost it and got into this weird competitive like nature with one another. So
it was like coming home to a dude.
No,
She
I was
was
just
in-
very closed off.
No, you
I
were
was
very
just like,
hot, dude. You were like, very sexy, but I wasn't turned on by her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to punch her in the throat. Because I would come home from business and I would come, you gotta remember, I'm coming home from events where we're throwing guys out of helicopters. It's aggressive.
was
They're
during Warrior
sparring,
Week.
fighting, beating the shit out of each other. I'm coming from the highest alpha level experiences with men for days on end. And then I would come walking through the house, not to a feminine woman. I would
I'd
come
done,
walking
like,
into
10
like a
hours at
boss
the
bitch.
salon.
And I'm like, okay, boss bitch, you want a battle? Because I've been at war for fucking 4 days. So you want to battle right now? Great. Keep your shield up because I'm going to punch you hard right now.
It wasn't always like that, but it was.
It was like that for years.
There were days where I'd like,
rough.
I would like drop my kids off at school. This is like when I was heavy in the salon. I'd go work at the salon for like 10, 12 hours a day. I'd come back and my kids were already in bed. So the last thing I want to do is like hang out with this guy. I'm like, I get it. You had a long day too. Me too. Like, good night. You know?
It's so interesting though, because I do feel like, and I think when I say did it serve you, I don't think it serves in the marriage, but I feel like to go to that extreme to have to figure out, because it's almost like you're trying to clean up what you were. You're like, okay, well that didn't work. Like not feeling in control did not work.
Right.
So, my whole life in order to learn something, unfortunately, but it's just how I've always learned, is the pendulum has swung so far to the other direction every single time.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how I end up kind of going, oh, well, actually, both extremes don't necessarily work.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because even when you're in the place that you're like, nothing is working, there's still some things working.
Right.
Like that, maybe being in that like more feminine flowy place, like there was probably things in your marriage that were working more.
Right.
And so it's kind of like when people ask me, how do you do this or how do you do that? It's like, well, sometimes you got to like really work your ass off in the beginning, or you turn into a totally different person, or you need to embrace a totally different energy or so that's a tough one for me to answer, because like even looking at that, I feel like you probably gained so much insight though from like,
for
I
sure.
guess I shouldn't say it didn't serve me, because it built me, for who I am. It taught me. Now I have a lot of respect for him. I'm like, wow, had I not experienced that?
And that's what he's in all the time.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that like, thank you. So there's definitely this level of like more of like respect, even for his guys in his program, where maybe some of the women don't understand it. I have a lot of empathy for it. I'm like, I get it. Like when men come home and they're supposed to turn it on and be Disneyland dad, I'm like, I get it. So I guess it's like, it built me to who I am today. And I'm glad like I kind of circled around and realized like that was a piece that built me, but I still want to be in this feminine space.
Totally.
Too.
I feel that. I mean, I feel that. That's a struggle for me all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be able to like
it's a
flip
double end of the
roles.
pendulum. Like the number of powerful women over 40 that I'm connected to that are either single or are divorced and sitting in this relationship with somebody that's like just a softer dude. And so these women at the end of the day, like at least my experience, even with Danielle, yes, you can be aggressive. Yes, you can be tense. And there's times I need you to do that and you need to be that for yourself. And she learned it during that season. But there's this other side of like this softness on the other end of the spectrum of the keyboard. It's like play the whole fucking keyboard. And if you don't play the whole keyboard, just play one side, all feminine all the time with no intensity, all intensity but no feminine energy, there's no polarity. Then it just becomes war zone. Because then you got the women that are doormats.
And their husbands want them to rise.
Their husbands will cheat on them, and because they're just like they're not appealing anymore because they're just little softies that listen to everything they say. Or you get the opposite side, they're so intense that the single women, this is a big challenge for the single women that I know in my programs and connect with me, and they're like all powerful, all make money, and they cannot find men.
Yeah, I have so many girlfriends like that right
Cannot
now, and
find
I don't
men.
even know what to tell them.
Yeah.
It's legitimately because the kind of guy that can stand in that power with a woman like that, like Chris, you've figured out, you have a very powerful wife. You figured out how to play, not out alpha her. You figured out how to create enough masculine intensity that she can rest.
That's very
She
true.
can let go of the masculine and rest. This is what I couldn't figure out with Danielle. Once I figured out what I needed to do, there was a code to doing it. Then she could rest.
Because he was so intense all the time.
But most of it, it's like tough. I mean, programs too. You have to be around a ton of women over 40 with this. Like it's like a ton. It's like it's an epidemic. It's like it's a serious problem. A ton of beautiful, powerful women over 40.
They come out of it? It's like you have to be able to switch roles. And like for me, like I'm very conscious of it now. So even little things I do, I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to really be in that feminine space for him, so he feels safe. And so, but then there's times where I start talking to him and I'm like more in business mode. and he's almost like repelled a little bit.
Mm.
So it's just like knowing like there's certain times I can have business conversations with him. It might be like a meeting that we're in, but at nighttime when we're hanging out or whatever, and it's not in business mode, I know I don't want to flip that on. And if I do, I'm asking for a fight sometimes. So I have to be very conscious about like conversations that I have with him. Cause like I said, I will pull him in my business sometimes, but I'm not going to pull him in at 6 p.m. at night when we're relaxing with kids.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to have this conversation with him. I'm going to schedule a walk to this morning at 9 and talk to him about it.
Well, I think what life's greatest emotional intelligence is knowing that there's always a time and a place, and being able to wisely choose that time and that place. And I think if you can be conscious of that, your relationship's going to go really, really well. But people that don't have awareness around, hey, there's a time and a place, and being able to execute that,
right?
I think they're set up for failure.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that you two are most excited about as a couple?
As a couple, it's interesting. Trying to figure out the kids or no kids thing. Here's why. People might think like, oh, that sounds daunting. It's kind of exciting. Like even our walk this morning.
We're just kind of like in this what's next for us right now. Because we're normally really clear and we're not right now.
Yeah. And that's the exciting part about it is like, we could end up with a full-blown family. We could end up just the two of us and traveling around the world and building business. We don't know. And that's kind of exciting. And it's also intimidating, to be honest. Like for me, the intimidation is, what if we make the wrong choice? But I think that is where the thrill comes from.
I was going to say you're at choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But but it's ultimately whatever choice it is, it's going to be the right choice.
Yeah.
So.
Totally. And thankfully that's a belief we both hold is like, okay, well, whatever we choose, we're going to make it the choice we're going to make it great, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think working on two separate startups is so wildly interesting and fun and hard and horrible at
goes
once.
Right back to what you guys were just talking about.
I love how your power manifesting
both in
words
the
are being
trenches.
placed perfectly and succinctly in domino order. That was
As
such
they
a
just
beautiful
go
way.
to-
That was such a beautiful way for me to translate. Yeah, shit's on fire and we're having a great time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we can't use those words. Those
we
are not
are
manifesting
so
power.
stretched
We had
right
a
now.
dull day in our house right
we
now.
are so stretched right now, and that's taking our relationship for sure to a new level. Like we're having conversations like, what does next level support look like for you from me? What does it look like from yourself?
Yeah.
That's been huge. Like you've started even the past like 3 days meditating for like long periods of time, which I never thought this man would do. But it's like some things are happening health-wise that are like requiring him to do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend two true startups in the house at
I
the same
wouldn't
time.
recommend it.
Well,
and I mean,
you're
like-
doing a
like-
physical product too.
Yeah.
What's
That's not
yours,
like
Chris?
we didn't just
mine's
like
a
launch an
fintech
e-product.
product that we've got millions and millions and millions of dollars dumped into, and now we have to pivot. Like it's crazy.
The pivot is we
We're kind of at a
here's what we're going to tell you. Like at least our experience with as many companies built and burned at the same time. Yeah, the pivot.
It's very stressful.
The pivot is the hardest.
Yeah.
But you have
But
to
you have
pivot.
to hit it, and when you hit it, there cannot be
Can't go
any
back.
hesitation, and you have to just let shit burn behind you. as you
Yep.
pivot.
So scary.
People are like, "How do you guys keep growing and building the wealth? How do you keep?" Because we've pivoted so many times to the point we've been sitting with each other,
You're like
going,
nauseous.
I'm pretty sure
Yes,
that
we feel
I'm
that.
pretty sure we could fucking lose everything if this pivot doesn't
We're like,
work.
let's go.
Yeah.
Well, fuck
Yep.
it. Hold on. Here we go.
We are so
yeah.
signed up for that. We talk about that all the time. We're like, listen, what's worst case scenario? We start from fucking zero again. We've already done that.
We're
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
Wisconsin at the bar having shots and giving you a foot massage. I love you,
Yep.
baby. Let's
And
go.
we'd still be okay. And we'd
Like
still be going for our walks
We'd
every day.
still
We'd
be
still,
okay.
you know.
And it would be the best story on earth, and you come back stronger. Like you just do. But I feel that's so hard. Like it's so nice to hear that from other couples. And that is why we hang around a lot of entrepreneurial couples, is because you can feel so alone in that and be like, are we crazy? Does this happen to successful people?
Yeah.
I thought if we hit success that this should never happen.
Yeah.
Are we, is there something wrong with us? Were we dumb with our money? Were we, no, you
It's
just
next level.
keep putting money into companies to go bigger.
Yes.
And then sometimes things like literally disappear overnight, or
Yeah.
things change, or the
Right.
internet changes something, or
Legislation.
ads change something,
Yeah.
or laws change something. And I think that's what people perceive, like looking at a couple like you or like us. They're like, oh, they've got it. Like it's set. No.
Yeah, no, we're still working.
No.
I would say in the last 10 years, we've had 3 to 4 moments of
Going all in.
we're like, there's only one way through this, and it's
Yeah.
not pause, and it's not think. Put all the kids on the fucking truck. I'm going to punch this bitch across this gap, and I'm going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't make, I had one time, it was actually, I was about 18 to 24 months ago. I will roll my dice on things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no fucking way we're losing all 4 of these. It's like my friends that I watched lose $150,000 in 12 minutes on the crap tables at Vegas this week. They're just, we'll get back on top. That's how I was. I was going to roll the dice on 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the same time. And none of them worked.
Oh.
And it took her colliding with me because I just get more fucking determined.
Well,
I'm
I
like,
could
fuck
I
you.
could see it. I could
Roll the
see
dice
things not
again.
working. I was like, I can't
Fuck
sit
you.
and not
Roll
say
it again.
anything.
So she's coming to me. We're sitting on a flight coming back from, I don't know, I think we were Grant and Elena. I don't remember where we're in. Like Danielle's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull it off. And I was like,
Well, I was like, I could see like all the red flags. And like when we lost everything before, I was like, oh no, like this, like,
Right.
I was like, we're not going back
But at
there.
least you can see it coming
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So now I'm like, how bad could things get? We're never going to be that rock bottom again because you've gone through it.
Yep.
So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, it's going to get a little dicey for a minute.
but I
we're
sat
not
there
going
in
back
that moment in our pivot and I fired. I got up the next morning, had made critical decisions. I let go of 80% of our employees overnight, including my son.
Yeah.
And I key people like just go. And then we went on a straight tear with my CFO and teams. And we just would sit with all that financials and go, gone, call them, we're done, canceled, just till we got to a place where we could stabilize and then go, okay.
What are we going
The
to do?
team is now 7 over here and the team is 9 of us here and we were 70. Okay. It's all right. Now what are we going to do?
Right.
Okay. Now we can breathe. Okay. What do you see now? What is true now? What are we going to do now? Okay. We're not fucking hiring anybody. That's for sure. And we forced ourselves to grow. Like we had our ad account shut down and we got them hacked from like these hackers that literally stole all my shit. Plus it was so much at once. And I'm trying to be connected with her on vacation. We're in Bora Bora and I'm losing my fucking mind. And she's like having fun with tequila and she's just like, fuck it, it's my birthday. And I'm like, love this beautiful place. And
I feel like I'm going to die.
fuck are we going to do?
Yeah.
So those jumps, you're right, they make you.
Yep.
And even if you ran the truck and you tried to jump the gap and you fucking burned up the process, you're not going to die.
No,
Yeah.
you're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out with new experience. And we're built so it's not going to be your last shot. It's not going to be your last at bat. So
Yeah.
fuck it.
I think you have to. I don't know anybody who, when you really ask them about somebody who has the life that you want,
Right.
I don't know anybody who hasn't had these moments multiple times and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
people
like-
look even at our house, like, what will this house will likely sell this week? And I'm going to go to Miami. And they're like, how in the world did you get into a $28 million house? I was like, because we are willing to jump the gap while you guys sit in the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
And we've passed people, even our mentors and coaches who were like, they get to a place where they're just like, you know what? I think it's good enough.
Yeah.
But we're like,
No.
you know what? What if?
Yeah.
What if we put the kids in the truck?
What if we put the kids in the back with seat belts and we just fly the gap
What if I
again?
made a ramp?
What if we pushed
when
real
you start
hard?
growing though, and you're in this lifestyle, you can't stay stagnant.
No.
Like you're literally, it's like the little callings, like it's time to go, and you're like, really, shit, are you sure? Because I really like this house. I don't know if it's time to go, but you have to like listen to that, and then when you get across the gap or whatever it is, you're like, wow, thank you for allowing me to hear that and having the courage to jump, And I think that God really leans into people like that because it's like the more you can say yes, the more you're going to help and impact. So
Totally.
for me, it's like, it's scary. And I'm sure you guys are in the same boat where you're like scary. But when I'm in this place, I'm like, I always just tell myself, who am I meant to impact and who am I going to become in the process? And then I'm like, fuck it, let's go.
Because you can't stay here.
No.
You can't stay here because you will, it's like, well, if you know that you're meant to grow, and I think we all are, like you will self-destruct. And I know that the first I'll start self-destructing our relationship because it's the most important thing to me. And it's what I will always do. I see it in myself when I start to be stagnant or avoidant or fearful, like I will start stuff with us. And then I start sabotaging myself. It's just like a cycle. And I did it long enough to recognize it. And if anybody listening like knows they do it, it's truly, there's things you can do to stop it. And it's like, you have to grow more.
I'm glad that you're sharing that because I think people see successful people and they just are like, oh, they're so happy. And there is like, we are happy, but there's also this level where you self-sabotage and you're like, why am I doing this? Oh, because I'm supposed to keep going. Or why am I sedating with this? oh, because I know I need to go to the next level. And it's so important to, like you said, I recognize that in myself now. So when when you're like sabotaging, you're like, oh, okay, what do we need to do? Where do we need to go? Instead of staying in this place of like, where you said your soul's almost like dying. And you're just like, okay, what, like, why am I physically like dying?
To me, staying in the same place is my soul dying.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be on an adventure. I need to be building something. I need to be, kind of evolving. Or what's the point?
Right.
Like the prize is not getting somewhere and staying there, even if it's a beautiful place. I just don't think that's the prize.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest illusion that everyone has.
Yeah.
Is that
And
they
the
look at
cars
anything
and the money and all that will come, but ultimately you're like, that's not all we're here for.
Right.
And when you get there,
it
you're
all
like,
gets
okay.
boring.
It
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
so
exactly,
boring.
yeah.
I wish people knew that. And I understand
don't
you have to
understand
have a
how.
carrot to chase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wish people knew that stuff gets boring. Law of diminishing returns kicks in, right? Like the first exciting car you buy, yay. Second one, yay. Third one, you're like, well, that wasn't very exciting anymore. Fourth one, fifth. And now you're like, wait, what else is there? What else could I do? What else is going to motivate me? And everything just becomes a thing. And you can't be attached to things. You have to be totally cool with like, yeah, I'm going to sell the house because I know I'll buy another one down the road.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll sell the cars because I know I'll get different ones down the road.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you are very agile and not attached to things, or you're not going to be able to build anything.
Yeah.
Half the time, that's what I believe. I think it's why we're selling and moving.
Yeah.
It's not even an economic situation for us. Like we wanted to be in Miami. We were sitting at Coastal Kitchens, a little restaurant over here, like 6 weeks ago, and Danielle was like forehead to forehead doing the mind fuck thing that she likes to do to me, which is beautiful.
Just fucking
So
your brain.
she just fucking my brain right in front of everybody. It's so beautiful. And then she's like, "We gotta sell and go. It's
Well,
time for us to go
out
to
of the
Miami."
blue?
Yeah.
Well, no, so I like love this house. Like I literally told Garrett, like manifested. We live 2 doors down, and I would walk by this house. It wasn't for sale. It wasn't for sale. Finally, they put it up for sale. They're like, how we got this house was like literally like so smooth. Like I didn't think like how it happened. I'm like, wow.
9 things had to line up, and they all lined up.
And it
Wow.
was like, this was like, I was like, this is my dream house. Like I walked by this like for 2 years as I'd go down to the beach and be like, they're building my house. So we get it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, we got to go. And I'm like, this is my dream house. But I realized like even here, I'm like, I can't be attached to the house.
Nope.
Like the house was a gift, but I can't be attached to the house. And I was like, okay.
God's calling us to Miami.
Yeah.
Amen. It'll hold you back from what's better.
Yeah.
Right? If you get attached to the house or to the car or to the thing or to the identity, it'll hold you back from where you were meant to go.
Yep. Well, you two have been
Yeah, it's fun.
amazing.
This was so fun. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, are we done? Are we?
I know.
done?
Some of our podcasts, we just keep talking. Then I'm like, we should end this. Is it dinner time? No. I'm just
I think this is a 3-part podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it is a 3-part. We should do a warrior podcast. Have you come back, Chris? And we'll just do man talk.
There you
And
go.
then we'll knock out the trifecta. Of this
I can't
thing.
come for the man talk. I'm just kidding. We'll analyze.
man talk.
We'll
You guys
analyze
can listen
shit.
to it and analyze the show
tell you how
afterwards.
you did.
You'll be
We'll
like,
tell you how
what were they doing? We just solved 94 problems in one podcast together. That's what we did.
They'll do a
We're
1-hour show. We'll do a
problem
4-hour show on their 1-hour show.
So listen, if people wanted to connect with you now, what is the best way for them to do that? We have a lot of amazing, powerful couples that listen to this show.
The place for us is online. For me, it's my podcast, Earn Your Happy, or Lori Harder, anything online.
Yep. I'm at Chris W. Harder on Instagram. And go check out Frello, Frello. That's the app that we're building right now.
I love it. Software is like giving birth to a pumpkin out of your penis.
That's what it feels
I've been
like.
in software for
It's a
9
good
years.
analogy.
Oh, man.
It's rough. That's exactly what Kajabi, Travis Rosser and Kenny from Kajabi told me when we launched the app in 2015. They said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be easy." They're like, "It's going to be like giving birth to a pumpkin out of your penis." I was like, "Oh, that's a weird visual. Thank you."
I think my pumpkin's stuck somewhere in the middle right now.
Yeah.
I'm so at the piss right now. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. We love having amazing guests and
thanks for
couples
having
here on the
us.
show
Thanks, bud.
every single week. And you can check out more with this podcast around the Wake Up Warrior process, right? Everything we do here, all the backbone of the way that our men and our women are leading and living is an operating system that has transformed over 65,000 men and women's lives. We'd love to help you out with that too. You can check out a free trial by going to warriorlaunch.com. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye.